Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Magpie Circle. Body armour on. Think it might be a little bit lively. We've got to try and keep some levity amidst all of this, but I think we'd all agree we could not have envisaged such a poor start to the season. 4 games gone, out of the Carabao Cup, 1 point from 3 games. A double header coming up, Shrewsbury on Wednesday, not Tuesday, don't forget, followed by Bromley on Saturday. We've all just about got back from about double-digit hours of driving, and I think there has also been some conjecture on Twitter that the Notts team coach broke down somewhere around St Helens on the way back on Saturday, which really would have put the tin hat on it. Last week, Dad's Army, big fan, aficionado. I was quoting Corporal Jones. Don't panic, don't panic. Is for you this week, after the defeat at Barrow on Saturday, a case of Private Fraser. Remember him, John Lorry, playing the dour Scots Undertaker? We're all doomed, I tell you. Or are we all just getting a little bit carried away? Joy of joy, we've got another 43 league games to come, plus an FA Cup. There you go, if you need a bit of cheering up. And to cheer ourselves up, we have got a message on here from Matt Arnold, and congratulations are in order for the Arnold family. At 7:01, Matt Arnold posted a message. I am watching from the City Hospital maternity ward. A new Notts fan born at 11:46 this morning. Congratulations to the Arnold family. Is the new arrival called Alessandra, Matt, or Martin, or Alexander, or Christoph, or maybe even Roberto? There you go. That's, of course, assuming it's a boy. May well be a girl, but I can't think of anything funny from a Notts perspective, though, in terms of names. Right. There are 1,001 messages. While I digest, dissect, and get me bins on to see them all, Stel, so tell me, are we well and truly in the cart? Okay. You always talk about a 10-game sample size. Are we in the cart, or are we just making mountains out of molehills?
Well, I hope we're making mountains out of molehills, because it's not looking good, is it? Yeah, every game that goes past, we keep saying, we need a response, or that we players are gelling, and that's true. And it still is early season, but the signs are not good, are they? I thought, Saturday particularly again was worrying. Just certain little things. You know, just the way we're playing. Really, you see a decent second half last week at Wigan. After in the cup, and you think, right, take that into Saturday. Take that energy and vibrancy, if you like, of the second half into Saturday, and then we get a first half like we saw at Barrow, which was certainly anything but energetic and vibrant. The complete polar opposite. And you're sort of looking and going, well, okay, you can keep saying it is early season. It's right, small sample size, absolutely, and it is a lot of players trying to gel together. But the concern I have is every time I say this, and I try, it is still true, but I want to be seeing more green shoots than I'm seeing. I want to be seeing more promise than I'm seeing. I think the 4 games we've had so far, the first half at Newport and the second half at Wigan, have been, acceptable and where we want to be, pretty much. I wouldn't say absolutely superb by any stretch of the imagination, but that's out of sort of 8 halves of football. I would say there's 2 that have been anything like. So that's a concern. That is a real concern. And then you take the other bits and go, the first half Saturday was miles away, just like the Salford game was miles away from where we need to be. And I'm not seeing too much in terms of, too much to grab hold of in terms of crumbs of comfort. Yes, you can say Matty Dennis gets his first goal Saturday, so that perhaps does him the world of good. You know, all we've seen really are flashes from certain players, certain bits of play. You know, a 45 minutes here, a half hour, sort of there. But in general, it's not looked good at all. You know, it really hasn't looked good. I think we look a little bit, say, confused in how we want to play. The players look like they're confused in what's expected of them. You know, on Saturday particularly, you saw a lot of frustrated players with the ball at their feet, and you saw how many times holding their hands out. Where's my option? Where am I going? And getting frustrated with teammates because they're not on the same wavelength at all. When you compare this, the 4 games we've seen so far, to what we saw last season, and people were critical of last season, I get that, but there was a definite pattern of play and there was a definite style that I think the players knew. Again, not to everybody's taste, and people said it was boring and, you know, too sideways, too much backwards passing. But you got the impression all the players knew their role and what was expected of them. At the minute, I still see a group of players who it's either, you know, it's taking longer for them to get the idea of what is wanted, or, you know, they're all, I mean, they are all just playing below what they're capable of. But I see confusion and a bit of frustration between the players. Now, the bit of frustration is expected given the result, but you know, like I say, at times we look a little bit statuesque, and Martin was saying about we want to be fit, we want to be, you know, high pressing, we want to be at the opposition. I don't see that translating itself on the pitch. So yeah, worrying, concerning, and obviously, I mean, the manner of, you know, coming home empty-handed is a bitter pill to swallow. But again, goals that can be prevented. You know, you know, if we're not scoring enough goals, we're not providing enough of a threat at one end, and we're conceding just soft goals at the other, and that is a recipe for trouble.
The newest member of the Arnold clan has been christened Owen Peter, Matt has just sent, partly after my dad, Peter, was a huge Notts fan. All the flock say congratulations and trust
Yeah.
you will be allowed out for Wednesday. Right, let's dive into the comments section. Right, I will endeavour to get as many of these read. But my voice will give out, and we do need some professional comments from Mr. Stallard. Myself and all of us, Seamus McDonough once famous said to me, he said, Macy, he said, you know your football. This was at Leicester. But you're a civilian. A lovely phrase, a lovely turnout. We're all civilians. Stell is a professional. Right, and so we need to maximise his time as well. SB, I am very worried after what we have seen so far this season. Last season's team needed some tweaks in personnel and style, but we have seemed to have thrown it all away. Instead, recruitment is very poor, and I have no faith in Mr. Patterson, who doesn't seem to have a clue. Richard Elvian, something isn't right. Head coach, recruitment, technical board. What's the number one issue here? Avoiding the cliche of it being a bit of all. Not looking forward to Wednesday, as I fear it could well be another repeat. It goes on to say, I'd like to see more of the team left from last season making the first team squad, and Tyrese Hall making a start. A little bit surprising. We've seen very little of him, despite Knott's hype that he's the next Glenn Hoddle at Tottenham. But anyway, we do that quite a lot, and then half the time the players don't play. Will Jarvis, anyone? Rob Bing, I think this could be a contentious show. We'll try and have some fun, Rob, and give everyone a bit of therapy along the road. I was certainly in need of therapy driving back in the car with Martin Kelk on Saturday. Jurgen, evening, Jurgen. Recruitment has been poor for me. Just needed a few tweaks to reduce players going out. Not 5 loan players and another 7 signings with only 1 forward coming in. Royston, why can't recruitment see what every Notts fan can see? A good centre forward and a very decent goalkeeper. Come on, brothers, open your purses. Evening from Kay. Kenneth Pointer. I detect a hint of sarcasm, Kenneth. Welcome to Notts County. Bar and paddle courts. Oh, and a football club as well. David Dawes, must win. I love that phrase, a must-win game. Or there will be a lot of angry fans. Mark 24. Well, what a mess we're in. It's a strange situation in that the squad is too bloated, but we still need more players bringing in. Good point. Far too early to call for Patterson out, though. Jonathan Hammocks, evening, Jonathan. Now, Jonathan has wrote a few more messages to us. First thing to say, massive respect to the fans who went to Wigan or Barrow or even both. I sometimes think the club don't deserve such amazing fans. Secondly, what a catastrophic decision to not keep hold of our player of the season, Mr. McGoldrick. Yes, we know he scored again. Yes, it would have been a gamble. I don't think it would have been a gamble. But everything in football is a gamble. Then what he's been typing the third and fourth, we've got about 10 other messages coming in. So forgive me for reading them in the order that they've come in. Rob Simmons, everyone seems to agree that we need a 9. How about those at the cricket at Trent Bridge tomorrow collect a pile of 6 signs and we can turn them upside down and wave them at Meadow Lane on Wednesday and Saturday. Very, very original. Jurgen went to Wigan, encouraged by the performance second half. Looking forward to Barrow. What a letdown. No urgency. Poor passing. Any news on a striker yet, says Ray Newton. What do you think, Ray? Injuries already, says Jurgen, with Luca and Platt off injured. Jonathan Hammocks, he's back again. My third and last point is if we could somehow win the next 2 games, what a different light it puts on everything. However, I'm optimistic, but I'll be amazed if we do win them both. It is absolutely possible. And it would then be a completely different complexion, wouldn't it? And Jonathan's come back with a 4th now. I love my club, and we've lost so much momentum since it came up from the National League. It's the crowd, I fear, which will decrease, having taken us so long to build it up. Shrewsbury lost at home, says Jurgen, had a player sent off, so they will be after a reaction from their players. Essie says, any news on Matty Platt? Quite a few of you asking that. The Magpie Circle, proud sponsors of Matty, but not neither I nor the club have put anything out today on any update on Matty. For those of us who were there, he seemed to land awkwardly after a challenge. I have no idea, calf, hamstring, something like that. But he did go straight down the tunnel at the far end of the ground, I noticed. So perhaps might not be too good. Rob Simmons, everyone agrees we need a number 9. Sorry, he's done the same thing. He just resent me that one, sorry. Richard Terry, during the close season, we're competing against the whole of League 2 for largely the same pool of players. Why then are teams like Salford able to attract the same players and mould them into a superior team? Adam Kent, I'm as disappointed as all Notts fans at our start to the season, but I'm hoping that our team is gelling. It's a little early to panic, but if this form continues, fans will not accept it. Leon Barber, evening Leon, worrying. Clear parallels with 18-19 season, and that's of course the year we surrendered our surrender. I think would probably be a good word for it. Our EFL status. We cannot go out the league again. Owners must act now. Leon also adds, any idea if the brothers are looking to get out, Paul? Most of their decisions over the past 18 months smack of losing interest. I have no inside knowledge, Leon. I don't think so. I think they are here for a long haul, although some of the decision making, I can see why people think that they might be losing interest. Don't believe anything of the sort. It would clearly be interesting to hear from them. We were due to be speaking to both the owners and Roberto before the start of the season, after we did the interview with Martin Patterson. I suspect that won't be happening at least for a little while, or till we win 6 on the bounce. Adi Clark, only 3 games in, but alarm bells ringing. Too many young, inexperienced loan players who I presume have to be given game time. Not many proven and experienced players for them to learn from either. Now, that, in terms of the messages, takes us to a minute before we started the show. So we'll try and get through them, but you kind of get the drift. There's an awful lot. I want to pick up on Adi's point, and it's something I've kind of mentioned in passing, Stal. Give us the professional's viewpoint. So we've got a squad, 25 pros. I think the brothers historically have prided themselves on the players that they bring in, the data research, etc., improving players' asset value. I don't really agree with that. I'd rather just win games. But that's kind of the mantra. We are now having, on average, 4 loan players starting matches, 4 out of 11. So that means out of your 20 professionals in the squad, only about a third are starting. Now, for you, is that something to be worried in terms of balance within a squad with players who are here for the long haul on contracts, or does it not really make any difference, and and a team must always be picked purely on the merits of the players?
Yeah, absolutely. That last point there. Yeah, it's got to be picked on merit. And the problem we have at the minute is not the number of loan players. The problem we have at the minute is I'm not seeing enough quality from them players, for anything to be picked on merit. So Martin, in his sort of, I think it was in pre-match, or it might have been the midweek interview after Wigan, said he was struggling to find his sort of preferred starting 11. And that's, why there's changes. Obviously, when you lose games or you don't win games, there's chance of being changes anyway. And I think that's it. I think that's the reason that he's got it. Look, we've got a decent size squad in terms of numbers. So again, for people who think that the owners are losing interest or whatever, well, they're funding, bringing players in. We've got loads of players. You think of the players that weren't even in the 18 for whatever reason, whether that's injury or just not in favour. At the weekend, we've got quite a. I would say we've got a bit of a bloated squad at the minute. I think that
Yes,
we talk a lot about the players that come in, and we will do that need to come in, and we will do again tonight. But I think we've got to get some out, because otherwise, the more players you have week in, week out that aren't involved on a Saturday or a Tuesday, then that can lead to issues. I'm not saying cause problems, but it can lead to issues because you've got a lot of disgruntled players who are not starting and maybe not even in the 18, and that can lead to problems in a dressing room. So that needs addressing as well. The squad size. But bottom line is, whether you're on loan, whether you're on a contract, everybody's there doing everything they can, but it's just not good enough at the minute. And like we hope they're gelling. We hope this is just a temporary blip at the start of a season. But like I say, that the signs are not promising so far. But 2 winnable home games to come, and things can change. We know how things can change, but based on where we are now, yeah, things are worrying. But it doesn't bother me, the fact you got loan players or not. Let's think George Abbott last season was on loan, wasn't he?
yeah,
And I know you might say, well, we didn't have the same number of loan players, but you always judge problems based on what the results are. George Abbott does well. He's a great loan signing, not a problem. At the minute, none of the loan players have come in and gone, well, he looks amazing. He looks like a George Abbott replacement. So automatically the question mark goes up. Well, have we got too many loan players? It comes down to what players do on the pitch. Obviously, part of the coaching, the coach sends the message down, sets up the structure, how they want to play. But it comes down to players on the pitch. Whether you're a loan player or a contracted player, that shouldn't really make an iota of difference when you cross the line, because you're not thinking, well, I'm a loan player or I'm a contracted player. You go out there to perform your best. Now, at the minute, we are struggling performing our best, as I think it was Jurgen who said, on Saturday, the passing was terrible. First half particularly, but passing was all over the place, and we've seen that far too often this season. Distribution, keeping the ball has not been good enough. The passing's not been accurate enough, and as a result, we haven't caused enough problems to other teams. Now, again, that is not down to whether players are loan players or contracted players. That is down to purely players distributing and displaying their skills and abilities on the pitch. So, look, there's a load of areas that can be questioned. For me, the number of loan signings isn't really a problem. That isn't really a problem. It only becomes a problem if the players that are brought in, and this comes to recruitment, if the players brought in are proven not to be better than what we had last season, then that's where the problem is, whether they're loan signings, whether they're permanent signings. Where it's at in a minute, you could put question marks against every facet of this club, from recruitment to coaching strategies to setup to structure to players and individuals. So at the minute, until we get to positive results, everything is up for question. But for me, the difference between loan and permanent, not a problem.
Very good. Jock Pie, I think he's from north of the border. This should be the last start against Shrewsbury without Alessandra, so we should at least see some improvement at the weekend. I presume you crossed your fingers when you were typing that one, Jock. Benny Boy had an enjoyable day in Barrow until 3 p.m. when things went downhill, starting with the football, then having several delays on the trains and not making it home until midnight. Crikey. Jumbo, all these questions about the brothers looking for a way out. Why would they spend over $1 million on a training pitch just to sell up? We are, however, in desperate need of a striker. And he goes on to ask, when will Tyrese Hall actually start? Evening all from Matt Arnold. I've read that one already. Yeah, congratulations on the new edition. I did call for a taxi for Dennis at half-time, says Paul Mantle. That's probably why he was a bit knocked, but glad it didn't turn up. Hopefully, he will kick on from here. Not like Notts fans to completely lose the plot, is it, says Stella Pie. Evening from Karen Knight, and also from our friend Greza. James Moore, where to start? Hang on, I've not read this properly, but I better vet it as I'm reading it. I can't understand how the brothers, having given such fantastic recruitment, usually this season can be so wrong. Losing Didsey was massive without a replacement. Adam Kent, just playing devil's advocate, do we need another striker? Yes. Dennis looks good. Jatta back soon, and Traore should push for a place in the team. Injuries, Adam. September. We're then stuffed until January the 1st. And we seem to have multiple options in various other departments. A minimum one for me, if not two. Wonder if there'll be a fans forum anytime soon, Kay. That'll be a no. Evening from Andrew Blatherwick and from Malcolm Shearston. Gazza I'm keeping quiet tonight. I said my piece to Martin Patterson after the game on Saturday. Oh dear. Did you overdose on some bravery tablets, Gazza? He didn't stay on the pitch long enough to applaud the 600 or so fans that made a 10-hour pilgrimage. I think he did come over, but not necessarily all the way. Evening, Paul and Stell from Hina 70. Does the head of recruitment have to answer to anyone before making a signing? Personally, I don't agree with all the loan signings. What happens in January if 2 or 3 are recalled? John Parr, lack of leadership. Brief and to the point from John, show regular. Ian G, I know folks say it's early days, but I for one am worried. There is no spirit in the team and lots of long faces. We've gone from one of the best defences in the league last year to looking clueless. The big picture, people. My brother-in-law is an Aberdeen season ticket holder. When Roos joined, I asked him what he thought. Decent shot stopper, poor in the air, poor distribution and no communication with defence was the reply. Okay. Colin Scott. It's Kedwin's dad. Congratulations to your lad, Colin, on the move to South Shields. I think he scored as well. Are we live yet, says Colin? Well, we are, but I think it was 7:04 when you sent it. So we might only just have been going live. We need to be careful or we go down, says Nigel Bosworth. We need some clarity from the board, says Ray Newton. The recruitment looks terrible and everything. John Parr. What else have we got? I'm just going through a lot of them. Right, we're up to 7:0. Hang on, 7:06. We're doing our best to catch up. Stel, responsibility and accountability. Two of my big buzzwords. Yeah, in life, running a business. You know, if you're in denial, normally you never address the issue. Yeah. Responsibility and accountability. And I guess there would be 3-4 potential sectors here from the football club, which a lot of fans are asking about. 1, the owners. 2, the director of football. 3, the head coach. 4, the players. I think they're kind of the 4 principles. Yeah. Now, yes, I know we'll also the obvious answer here. It's a mix of everything. Yeah. But if you're trying to look at where the problems started or where all this has come from to have gone so wrong compared to last season's playoff campaign, what would you say?
Yeah, the obvious answer is a bit of everything. But as I said in the previous answer, you know, you can look. I'm like you. I think the restructure or the slight reshuffle, if you like, in the structure of the club does give you heads of department, if you like, director of football, director of performance. You know, you've got the technical board as well. You've got the owners that's obviously sit above it and make these appointments. But I think by having director of whatever it is, coaching, football, performance, etc., you've got accountability there. You've got ultimate somebody who's, say, neck is on the chopping block, but somebody who is making the decision, head coach, obviously, or manager, whenever it is with a football team, their head's on the chopping block, isn't it? Because, you know, they pick the team, it's their team, they go out there and play. So I think we've got accountability. And unfortunately, what they've got to take account of at the minute is not good. So that's why all the criticism, that's why all the question marks, the scrutiny, you know, all that sort of stuff. And the accountability, well, there should be clear accountability for it, you know, in the structure of the club. And the owners will be, as much as we're discussing it, the owners will be discussing it with, you know, the CEO and the director of this, that, and the other. Nobody is happy with the start, and nobody in whatever position can really say, well, I'm faultless, I'm doing my job, I'm doing the best I can do, because the results tell you, and such is football, everything's dictated to by results on the pitch, performances on the pitch. Nobody can sit in front of anybody who's doing an appraisal and say, well, I'm blameless, I've done nothing wrong, everything's peachy in my corner of the world, because it isn't. You know, so there's a collective, even though there's individual accountability, it is all for the collective good of Notts County. So look, I know everybody wants to blame somebody. There's got to be an easy blame. It's their fault, but it is collective. Players not playing well enough. Is the message from the coach and the coaches clear enough? Do the players know what's needed from them? The recruitment, has that been good enough? Has that given the coaches enough to work with? You know, and then for the owners, have we appointed correctly the heads of these departments? And so on and so forth. There's a breadcrumb trail of everything is for appraisal. Now, in football, I say the results dictate everything. And as we sit here now, nobody can say that, hey, you need to sort of up your game. Everybody, every facet, from the lowest player, the youngest player that's been involved, to the most experienced owner or whatever, whoever it might be at the club. There's room for improvement in every area. So, look, pressure is on. because you know what football fans are like. We hear the comments. I bumped into a couple of fans at the services on the way back, and one of them very clearly spoke eloquently, but was adamant, time for Martin Patterson to go. 4 games into the season. Now, that's not my opinion, but I'm fully happy to listen to it. And I couldn't give any sort of cohesive argument as to, well, that's definitely the wrong thing to do, because of the results. But hopefully 2 wins this week, or at least 4 points from 2 home games, and things might look a little bit different. But nobody from the club, nobody, and if it could really come out and give a positive sort of, yeah, this is what we expected. The best you can say is, as we are saying, we're hoping that it's taking time for everything to gel on the pitch, for the players to gel. We're hoping that things will improve once they get the first win, that confidence will help bring the best out of the players. And we're hoping that they can really nail down the style of play that we're going to go forward and become more productive going forward. And we certainly hope that while the transfer window's open till the end of this month, that we're going to bring in players that will make a difference, a positive difference to the club. But as we sit here now, even for the most optimistic of person, it is very difficult to say, well, absolutely, this is working perfectly. That's as good as it could have gone. No, it isn't. But the only caveat is it can change very quickly in football. Such is the nature of the game. But it needs to change. It absolutely needs to change, because there's not too much promise being shown in these first 4 games.
Yeah, you raised, and it's going back 12 months, 18 months ago, the point about whether there is sufficient professional football expertise, subject knowledge, within the football club, because the brothers are new to it. And if we get the brothers on the show, and Roberto, the first question for me has to be, given all the data, the algorithms, from a head coach perspective, why do you appear to attach so little emphasis to winning? Yeah, be it managers that win games, head coaches that win games, people that have done it. We consistently seem to ask people in very senior positions at this football club to do something they've never done before. And I think, with the possible exception of the first year back in the National League, the clear objective every season of the brothers' tenure has been to get promotion. And I think it's very realistic given the supporter bases that we've enjoyed. We've done it once with Luke Williams, but every head coach we've appointed has never got promotion on the CV, and in many cases has a relegation, and in all cases halfway or lower. And so then that moves you on to the director of football position. Richard Montague didn't have professional football expertise. Roberto hasn't played professionally. I think you have to say it's a big black question mark due to his role in Orient, which was a quite farcical situation in which Barry Hearn left a very successful club, and within a matter of months, the Italian consortium got them relegated. And again, Roberto doesn't have professional football experience. And Richard Stanton, who we both know, play golf with, he's much better than me and you. He makes the point that the football club talks a lot about algorithms and its recruitment processes and its data. Yet virtually every signing that we have made this time, there are quotes from Roberto Gagliardi I'm paraphrasing, watched him for a long time, known him for a long time, tried to get him at Portsmouth, tried to get him when I was here. And this almost seems like personal views. Now, do those personal recommendations and his thoughts agree with data? But for me, on the face of it, and it's very early, our recruitment is potentially very poor. We go back, credit where credit is due, absolutely. Last season, we signed Alex Bass, we signed Jacob Bedo, Matty Platt. 3 into a defence, and we all knew we needed improvement in the defence. All those 3 players are 40-game-a-season merchants. Stock 8 out of 10. I'm not going to use oven ready now, Stel, because I get mercilessly ripped for that. I'm going to say Ron Seal players. Ron Seal, do what it says on the tin. You kind of know, all things being equal, you're going to get games out of those 3 players. Yeah, they're going to be rock steady. You know what you get in, and you don't need to, they're low maintenance. You don't need to worry too much about them, and they will do that job. So that's great recruitment. But looking at our recruitment this year, a lot of it seems, not to say these players won't be good, but it does seem quite high risk, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I absolutely hear that quite a bit. And we've been discussing this, almost since they took over, and this data, the word data gets used, and because we're on, and I mean, we as a Notts County fan base, if you like, we're on the outside. We don't really know what this data entails. So like anything, you become a bit skeptical of it. When things are going well, nobody questions it. It's great, fine, we're winning, doesn't matter. But when you're not doing so well, then it becomes, oh, we don't know that, we don't like it. That must be the problem. This is it. Again, I'm not versed in what data really actually does. I'm not privy to all the data that they have. Yes, of course, data's everywhere in day-to-day life nowadays. You can get it off the internet yourselves. It's FOTMob website and things like that. You can get all sorts of data. Like anything, interpretation of data is the key. Data is just everything that has happened. Historical fact, if you like, whatever it is, everything that's happened becomes data. It's how you read into that, and then how you marry that up to what your eyes see. And we're back to the David McGoldrick comment from last week that we're talking about. What your eyes see and what the data's telling you. Now, because we've got the data, and this company that can get all this, I am seeing really, really deep diving of data. It's not just we've got an XG, we've got the percentage of possession, and that's what we want. They'll have unbelievable detailed data. But again, like now, maybe the old school bit in me, or maybe the ex-player in me, or whatever it is in me, that says I absolutely think it's better to have the data and use it, but it is how you marry that up with your eyes, what your eyes tell you, what your brain tells you about things that sometimes are unquantifiable. In terms of, yes, the data tells you fact, but it doesn't tell you the whole picture, and that's what you have to use your eyes and your contacts, and of course, you just like in any time, you ring people up who you know in the game to, I've been contacted about a couple of Notts players this season from people that are obviously looking to take them elsewhere. I'm obviously not a privilege to say, but people are always checking up on players. What do you know? How do you rate him? What do you think? So the data will not be the single thing that defines the recruitment, but it will be allied to contacts, knowledge. And again, absolutely. Look, I've got to say, I questioned why we didn't have enough actual football experience within the coaching and recruitment, sort of part of the club. Well, this season we have, haven't we? We've got 3 ex-players as the coaching head coach, assistant coach, and Sam as first team coach, whatever the role is there. 3 ex-players, so there's far more football experience now than there has been. It's not manifested itself in an upturn in results, not yet. So, like I say, so what I'm saying is, maybe I'm wrong, but what I'm saying is there is no right answer. There is no one way that fits all. There's no one way. So recruitment at the minute, and bear in mind we are only 4 games in, but I would say recruitment at the minute doesn't look like we're any better than we were last season. That's not to say that can't change, but at the minute, nobody's really coming. Tom Pender, I would maybe leave out of that. I think he's looked promising at the start of his Notts County season, but I think certainly it's a legitimate to question: are we any better than we were last season? Not based on the first 4 games, but a long way to go. But there's time for that to change. But recruitment, like anything, you can have an algorithm, you can have data, you can have whatever you want. You can have a crystal ball. I don't believe in that either. But recruitment is not an exact science. So there are a lot of factors. And I've said it about myself. Like I say, I've been at some clubs and been decent. I've been at some clubs in my career and been, what was the word the Barnsley fan used? Crap. So, you know, but I'm the same player all them times. So there's no way that data, if I was, if I was signed on data, or if I was signed by just somebody looking at it, go, oh, like him or not, like whatever, you know, it's no guarantee that it's going to work. And at the minute, again, early stages, it doesn't look like the recruitment has been massively successful. But again, we've got a long way of the season to go. But that can happen. That can happen. So, but because we're doing it, I'm not saying slightly different, because data's used up and down the country at loads of clubs. So, I mean, I think clubs that don't use data will be in the minority nowadays. But because it's a bit of an unknown to us all on the outside, we start looking at it as if it's a dirty word, this data. Oh, that's the problem. Data. Data's not the problem. You need recruitment that is successful. And at the minute, that's not looked successful. And what I will say is this is not putting it all on the new recruits, by the way, because I
No.
would say, and some of them players that you mentioned that were here last season, and Ron Seal, I don't know if you're looking for a sponsorship extension with them, but I mean, does your fence need creosote? And I don't know. But, some of them players that were here last season, they're not playing as well as they did last season as well. So their levels aren't what they were. So if that's not recruitment, we're saying that, it was great recruitment last season. They were playing better. The team was playing better. Now we're not doing so well. It's not just recruitment. It is the whole of the everything, from coaching through everything through to the players. They need to play better. They need to come together better as a team, as individuals, because I don't know. Like I say, you ask anybody, put it on here. You ask people to put in, who do they think who was here last season is playing better this season? I would doubt anybody. And who out of the new recruits do they think has been fantastic at the start of this season? And I doubt there'd be more than one or two names. So like I said, there is room for massive improvement. But is data the problem? I don't think data's the problem, but you can get recruitment wrong. Whether you use data or not, recruitment can go wrong. So time will tell. And again, this is not me, nailing my colours to the mast saying recruitment has gone wrong. I'm saying based on the 4 competitive games I've seen, and we've all seen, there's question marks. And then question marks will not be answered probably until 8, 9, 10 games of the season have gone, but certainly won't be answered solidly until 46 games have gone. But, it's still early days. There's time. Players are still gelling. Players are still looking to get into form. But like I say, what we've seen so far has not been great.
Our play so far, says JC32, is based on sheer hope and coming out on the right side of randomness. 2 things you think are total sacrilege for data-driven owners. The whole setup is just utterly bizarre. Andy McIntosh, he takes a slightly different view. Ardley to Birchnell, Williams, Maynard, smooth transition from one management team to the next, with each progressing and adding to their predecessor. Big Meech, it seems to me, for the owners, it's promotion or bust. MP on a short contract, more loan players than ever before, and seasoned pros given 1-year contracts. Think we all need to come to terms, says Ian G, with not being a massive experiment for Football Radar. That is the brothers' company. Paul Smales, I get us Notts fans, we are frustrated with early results, but it's 3 games, league games. We want better, obviously. There's no need to panic. Let's just give our head a wobble. Looks like Chesterfield are a good bet for autos, says Stephen. Things can change, says Richard Elvian, but what will realise this change from what we've seen? What needs to happen onto the pitch? We'll be coming onto that with Stell in a minute. Chesterfield, MK and Grimsby, says Ian G, for automatics. For me, all have experienced EFL managers for this level. That's the thing we lack. 8 points off the leaders already, says Ian Cooksey. No chance of finishing top 3. So yet again, it's a failure. Adam Kent, I agree that loan signings are a statement of intent. Owners don't expect to be in this league next season. Read into that what you will. Richard Elvian, we've not had an experienced head coach appointment yet under the brothers. Current Pie squad not as strong as last season, says Stephen. Pato is 10 times the manager Williams is, isn't it? There's a statement there. No experienced coach would come to us the way we operate, says Ian G. Paul Cuthbert. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Alessandro when he comes back. Everyone is expecting him to provide the silver bullet and put everything right. Needs service, adds Richard Elvian. JC32, he's obviously an educated man. He uses some good words. Amongst the plethora of issues, the captaincy should be right at the top. Matt Palmer has been a great servant, but is as far away from an appropriate captain as you can get. No leaders in this group anywhere. Derek Flowers, people are blaming the Reitz brothers for our signings, but it's the director of football who's to blame. Colin Metcalf, the investment on the pitch does not match the investment off it. It's all well and good having a fantastic cinema, but if the film shown in it is crap, it's pointless. That's an interesting analogy. Jurgen questioning whether Jatta involved in World Cup September and October. I suspect he's likely to be. It's another reason for me why you need at least one, if not two, strikers. Lippy Jane. Those of you saw Lippy Jane on our live vlog from Saturday's game. We had a little quick chat with her in the stands. She won the free home shirt courtesy of our official partners, JH Accountants. Our other official partners, forgot to mention them at the start, of course, the Big Shed at the Trent Navigation. Thank you to both of those guys for their support. Jambo 102, not sure why we keep banging on about the board and the manager. That squad on paper is the best in this division if set up properly. There's another contentious point. What else have we got? Bud Chatwin, Paul, get some of that makeup Stell uses to stop the glare from his head. It's the only bright thing that has happened so far this season. What are you bloody saying about, eh? I've got a bit of hair, not a lot. No, I did notice, Stell. Have you been gelling your hair? Had a bit of a trim. You've been growing it up like this, haven't you?
My God, makeup and a glow up and things like that. You're joking. I've had a haircut. That's as much as a glow up as I have. Good God. No, exactly. It's just the light. I'm trying to get some light. It looks like it's a bit dark around here nowadays. Isn't it getting dark? But I certainly have not got any makeup on or any hair gel or anything like that. No.
Right. Okay. Let's go back. Martin Patterson, as a pro, he had a little bit of management. Not long. Was it Mansfield? Coaching style, caretaker. How much is Martin Patterson hurting now? What's going through his mind?
He's of course he's hurting. Don't be under any illusion that players or managers or coaches don't care. That's not the case at all. And for all the criticism that I'll throw out, I did on the radio or whether it's on this, I'm not questioning work rate, commitment, or attitude, in terms of that at the minute from what I see. I think I've done that years ago when I thought I saw it, but not at the minute. No, that's not in question. So Martin Patterson will be really hurting. Think of it. He is like any of us. He's not really got a successful. He's not got much of a CV as a head coach, as a manager. He's done plenty of coaching here, there, and everywhere, but he's not got much of a CV. So he gets a plum job like Notts. After, not being particularly successful at Burton. Yes, he kept him up in difficult circumstances, but no real CV. So he is going to be absolutely desperate, even if it's just from an absolutely selfish personal point of view. He is going to be absolutely desperate because let's be honest, this could be his last chance saloon in
Yeah.
league football at
Yes.
Notts
And the
if
number
this
one
doesn't
job.
go well.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a number one, of course, yeah. But
Yeah.
of course, and that's always the case with any manager. That's what I say, neck on the chopping block and all that. So he is absolutely desperate to come in and start well because he wants to get in. He's not daft. He'll know that the fans will be questioning his appointment before we've even played a game, kicked a ball. So he wants to start well and he wants to start winning because everybody does. You're a professional. He's had a long career in football as a player. You don't do that from not being a winner, from not really being bothered about it. You have to. Talent will take you so far, but your attitude will keep you going. And so he's got that in him. I think you can see from the way he speaks, he's not some happy-go-lucky sort of, it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean out to me. Because I think when we interviewed him, before the season, but also you see from his post matches and his interviews, he's not the sort of manager that can just brushes it off. I think he's honest after the games. I think he's honest before the games. He's been honest about the striker situation, and bearing in mind he's new to the position. He's been employed to maybe toe the party line at times,
Mm.
but I think he's very much his own person, and I'm not saying he's been critical of the recruitment, but he's saying everything that he's saying he's seeing what we're seeing when he's asked about a number 9 and a striker and things like that. So he is absolutely hurting. He is absolutely hurting and frustrated and, all the rest of it. Now then, that is all well and good. But what that doesn't answer is he good enough as a head coach to turn this around, change it, and get us results? I hope so, but time will tell. But again, the jury is out on that because there's no evidence so far of it. But like we say, 2 wins this week or 2 good results, 2 better performances. But ifs, buts, and maybes can't affect our thinking as I'm sat here now. So that's my honesty. I think it absolutely hurts him massively, no question. But that your heart and what you want and you desire as a coach, you can't go across the white line and do anything about it. Your work is Monday to Friday, and then in a dressing room, sort of before and half time and what have you. But does that mean you've got the ability, like, the most fervent Notts fans will have the most desire, the most want, they be hurting more than anybody. But they also probably don't have the ability to go and manage the team and set them up and do that. So again, it's that balancing act, isn't it, of having to tick all boxes. Now, don't question that. The question marks comes until you start getting results. They're question marks. Is he good enough to turn this around now? To motivate personnel, to motivate the players that he's got, the players that may come in, and keep them all happy and keep them hungry and get them playing in a way that we all want to see. Time will tell.
What does he do, Stell, in terms of, does he circle the wagons? Does he create a siege mentality? I remember Don O'Riordan telling the story after Notts lost at Tottenham in an FA Cup tie. Players thought they'd come in, get a bit of a volley. Neil brought them in the following day, sat down with a few tins of beer, and they chatted. Yeah, and don't blow what we've achieved so far. Don't let it derail. Blah blah. And I think the point Don was making, the players just hadn't expected that. They just hadn't expected that. And we talk a lot about data and algorithms, but a lot of the most successful managers, it's the ability to manage different people differently, isn't it? But bring a collective together. So often unpredictability. So do you run them hard after Saturday? Is it kid gloves? Do you make sweeping changes? Do you say build confidence up? How are the different ways you can go about this? Given they would have heard the boos. They'd have heard the boos Saturday. Yeah. 2 home games in 4 days. We all know that first 15 minutes on Wednesday night is going to be pretty pivotal. Yeah. Or it could get quite messy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, there's many ways you can go about things. You could sort of, I've been in dressing rooms myself
Yeah.
where, you don't get off to a great start to the season. Now, some managers and coach will go, sit you down and go, look, forget what's going on. We believe there's a long way to go. We keep playing. We keep trusting the process. Keep believing. You're good players. It will come. Blah blah. All that sort of thing. Not so much parrot, but trying to get confidence up. Others, like you say, might take you out to the pub and do something totally different. Forget about it. Try and relax you. Try and get you away from it. Others might run you. Might go, well, you ain't playing well, so you run, and I'm going to chop and change the team. It's look, there's a million and one different ways, and unless you're inside the dressing room and know the players and know the personalities that are in there, and get a feel for what, if any, are any underlying problems. If it goes beyond, the players just aren't playing well enough. They're not carrying out my instructions well enough. If it goes beyond that to, I don't know, he's not playing well because he looks a bit down and a bit, in on himself, or he's not playing well because he's got some issues outside of football, whatever it might be, that's where you need a good man manager. And that doesn't need to be the head coach. It can be any of the coaches or any of the coaching staff, it can be senior players even. If there's something happening in a dressing room, then you need to be honest, transparent, and address it, because football, I always say football is a slightly different industry to anything else, whereby problems need to be dealt with if there are any. And again, I'm not saying there are any
No,
beyond
of
the
course.
results on the pitch, but they need dealing with. You can't just go, well, let's schedule a meeting in 3 weeks' time and we'll all bring whatever we've got to the table. It needs to happen. It needs to be aired, and it needs to be sorted. But again, it all falls under the head coach's remit. As we're talking about responsibilities, him and his coaches, will have meetings daily. Have you sensed any problems? They'll be talking about the football aspect, of course they will, but alongside that will be picked up on anything. Anybody got any problems? Anybody come to you with it, saying they've got any issues, any little bits of what, this, that, and the other. So you're always having to manage, the players. And you're right, every player in years gone by, it was sort of carrot or stick or whatever, and the whole group either got the carrot or got the stick. Nowadays, I'm sure things are far more refined, and it is more micromanaged, managing individuals differently, because everybody's got different needs or wants or whatever requirements. So again, that comes down to how you want to run your ship. But again, the coaches, the head coach sets the message, sets the feeling and what have you. And we say about Martin, he's intense. He doesn't look like somebody who lets things, come off water off a duck's back and all that. So maybe, is there somebody in there who's not a joker per se? Because I'm not saying now's the time for having a laugh and a joke, but somebody who's got a different character. If somebody else got the players here, light-hearted in training or whatever, just to lighten the mood, because you can't
Yeah.
always be intense for what, 9, 10 months of a season. So, but I'm sure they will have that in house. But that's just a little bit of an insight. But there is again, no surefire way of what do you do. You've lost 3 games, drawn one out, first four. What does the coaching manual say you have to do in training this week to change it? There is no way around it. There's no formula for that. You've just got to get it within the group, and that's what you talk about, siege mentality. It is
Mm,
about having a meeting, saying, look, only we can change this. You know, Stal and Paul moaning on a podcast, the fans moaning, booing, clap, whatever. They can't do anything about it. They urgently want it to change, but
yeah.
only we can do something about it. And it's about how you go about improving and getting better. And this is what we say about bravery in football.
Yeah.
Now is the time for Notts players to be brave. Bravery isn't rattling into a 2-footed tackle.
Yeah.
Bravery is, can I go and play when even my own fans are not happy? I know they're not happy. Why would they be happy? We're not happy. But can I go and play? Can I go and stick my chest out and put in a performance? Can I go and be the man that wins us the game on Wednesday night? Can I be the man that goes and saves us the game maybe on Saturday, puts in a goal line clearance, whatever it might be? And can I rally the troops? Can I drag me mates along with me, my teammates? Come on, let's do this. Stick together. Come on, chest out. We're good enough to do it. And that's what it is. That's what bravery in football really encompasses.
Very Churchillian, Stell. I like that. Kedwin's dad, Colin Scott, is a bit of a comedian. Derek Adams has just departed Morecambe. Is that a wise move? You get it? Morecambe and Wise. There you go.
Very good.
It's good to see that Kedwin's dad is still connected with Notts, even though he's a Newcastle season ticket holder, and his lad is now playing for South Shields. Adam Kent, I was watching Jody Jones, not mentioned him tonight yet, closely on Saturday. Great passing and movement, but is he a winger? That debate, I am sure, is going to continue whenever he's played in a central role. Ian G, the fans' mood is not new. We have been suffering since February. Paul Topley, my old mucker from Greenwood School. I'm still confident, and an emoji that I can't quite see, but anyway. UPie, says Linda Lou, supporting win or lose. If we're still winless after Bromley come 5 o'clock Saturday, then the lane will turn toxic very quickly, says Andrew Blatherwick. We'll have to try and get our black and white glasses on and certainly hope that doesn't happen, whilst I probably wouldn't disagree with you. Ian G, we know Martin's hands are tied, but he knew that when he took the role. I doubt he has the ability to steer us out of this hole, to be honest. Ian Cooksey, the two bloody stuffed magpies behind Paul, my stuffed magpies, they're there. You have to look quite closely. They've got to take their share of the blame. If there was only one for sorrow, I would agree with you, but we've got two and they're supposed to be lucky. Lots of people seem to be watching the playoff final against Chesterfield and harping back to team spirit, never say die, resilience, getting over finishing line. Richard Elvian, yes, Martin is intense, but he has to take his team with him. Playing style, questions Chambo. Identity is a word that's been mentioned by a lot of our posters tonight. Adam Kent, last season Matty Platt was first on the team sheet. Seems he has fallen out of favour. Making up my own mind. Let's see what happens. Chambo, the main problem is we're trying to play a style of football way above our level. I wonder if we're trying to play more of a hybrid style, and we're not quite doing it at the minute. Bean Joe, honestly, it's not my alias. Why can't we play 4 at the back? We have the players for it. JJ and Bennett's on the wings. Andy Esom, if Matty Platt is out for a spell, what backup do we have? No sign of Lucas Ness or Lewis Macari. I think Ness is injured. Lewis Macari, a lot of people asking whether he's eligible to play. He's certainly been named in reserve and B team games. Not sure whether it's a little bit different for first team games, but certainly he has been playing football, so by definition one presumes he must be fit and available. Right, well, this is a double-header preview against Shrewsbury and Bromley. We ain't mentioned them yet. Shrewsbury relegated, a lot of people's tips to bounce straight back. Barrow hadn't scored a goal and lost 3. They managed to beat us. What do you make of a double header at home after not winning a game? Presumably, still, you'd still rather be having home games than going on the road, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, and certainly better than going on the road all the way to Barrow with the trouble that I'm sure everybody experienced at the weekend. Yeah, absolutely. You want 2 home games, and 2 home games against teams that haven't necessarily started the season flying as well. So, it's a big game, isn't it? Wednesday. Now, first confession, I'm not there Wednesday. I'm not at the game Wednesday. I'm there Saturday, but I'm not there Wednesday. Neil Bishop, brilliant substitution for me. So obviously the transfer window is working well. Some recruitment going on there. But yeah, typically we booked a couple of days or a couple of nights away, didn't we, me and the missus? And then the game got moved from a Tuesday to a Wednesday, so I can't do it.
I
But
see.
but like I say, it is. Let's say it's not a must-win game, but two home games you want to be winning at least one of them, hopefully two of them. But I'm sure Shrewsbury have not had a good start at all. But then Barrow hadn't either, had they? And they
Yeah.
did all right at the weekend. So look, what's gone has gone, but we've got to play better. That's I think that's we've got to get a win, of course we have, but I think that the performance level for 90 minutes needs to be better. We haven't had a 90 minutes performance yet. We've had nothing near a 90-minute performance yet. So, but at home, sometimes in adversity, your home, familiar surroundings, big pitch, nice pitch to play on. Get the first goal. We said about the first 15 minutes is massive. Get the first goal. Get ahead in a game. You know, it's absolutely vital, and obviously it's not something we've done yet this season.
I was going to say, we've not scored first, have we?
No,
No, not scored first.
no. So again, we haven't scored that many goals. We've only scored the 3, but we've been behind in each league game. So get the first goal. That would be massive. And again, just when things are going badly, it always feels like there's a bit of a weight on your shoulders. Get the first goal, perform, just run around, work hard, give the fans something to cheer, and you just never know. All of a sudden, the game can look different. So, big two games. Let's make no mistake about it. Big two games. We need to get that first win, and we need to be back here next Monday talking a heck of a lot more positively than we are doing this week.
The big picture, people, I remember us beating Shrewsbury 5-2 in about 78, 79. First time I saw not score 5. And last time I watched a game in the old Meadow Lane stand. Ian Cooksey, Shrewsbury haven't scored this season. What happens next? Paul Smales, are Notts having a hangover from last season and can't shake the disappointment off? Or are we doing an MK Dons start to the season like last year? I'm glad you didn't say Carlisle. Stell being replaced. Is he just not an 80-minute striker, says Aidan Clark? It was a reference to an interview that, or I don't know if it's the tongue or not, but
no, I'm not a 9-minute striker anymore. Never mind 90-minute striker. But yeah, I did find that a bit of an odd comment. Yeah, players who aren't 90-minute players. That's that's a bit of a concern. But look, only Martin will really know what he meant by that. But a bit of a strange comment. But no, nowadays 9 minutes that's more than enough for me.
As an outsider, says Andy, I can see the brothers are regularly mentioned. Their reliance on stats and laptops is worrying. I can see only one player left from the team we pipped to promotion. Best of luck. Gazali, watch the Shrewsbury podcast today. They sound to be in a worse state than us. Away win dead cert. The gallows humour of being in football. Chambo, I will give Griffiths the nod over Roos on Wednesday. That's Shrewsbury, and you will be back for Bromley, will you, Stell?
I will, yes, absolutely. Okay. It's the 100 that's meant I've had to miss this game. That's why the game was moved, wasn't it?
I get it.
So I'm back for Bromley. So hopefully we'll be in a better position before then already with a win. So let's hope Bish is a bit of a good luck mascot.
Yeah, I mean, you do realise, of course, if and when we win on Wednesday night, we're not having you back.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That could be it. Yeah, that could be it for me. Yeah. Exactly. That's it. That's it. Absolutely. But hey, look, we'll take it if it gets us a win. Absolutely. Although, go on.
Bromley, return of Kyle Cameron.
Yep. If he plays, I don't think he played, did he? I don't think he's. No. I don't know as if he's been playing, so I don't know if he's injured or just not in favour. But they've got off to a better start, haven't they? I don't think they've lost a game. Don't think they've lost a league game anyway. A win and 2 draws. Is that right?
A return of Michael Cheek. He's a bit like Mullin, isn't he, against Notts? Always bloody scores.
Well, I'd say he's a centre forward that's got that knack, hasn't he? And I take no pleasure in this. But when I was doing it with Charlie years ago, I said about him, Michael Cheek, he's the sort of player I would like at Notts. I know people saying that, but he's the age he is now would pretty much preclude that. But
Yeah.
he's gone on and shown year after year I know he's only playing National League and in League Two, but he knows where the back of the net is, and he finds a way of scoring goals. And he might not necessarily be playing in a team that's top of the table either, but he still scores his fair share of goals. And that is, the hardest thing in football, yes, but that is exactly the sort of player that Notts need. Somebody who can know where the back of the net is and can find a weight in goals and consistently provide a number of goals. Now, maybe that's Matty Dennis. Maybe it's Jatta when he's back fit again, which will be Saturday, or maybe it's whoever comes in before this window closes. But we certainly need, as you say, at least one of them. But you need as many people scoring goals as you possibly can to achieve anything.
Hey, I've not been on the happy water, as Alan Bircham always told me about alcohol. I've not been on the happy water, honestly. But here's a scenario for you, Stel. We win 3-0 against Shrewsbury. Dennis scores a hat-trick. Does Jatta start or stay on the bench Saturday against Bromley?
Yeah. Well, he doesn't replace Matty Dennis, that's for sure. Matty Dennis does start, but I think, obviously, depending on how fit he is, let's not forget he's not had any competitive football for a bit. But I wouldn't be averse to playing two up top. I wouldn't be averse to playing the both of them. I think having the both of them would be a threat to defences in this division. Again, you're always reliant on service as well, generally. But I think having both of them would be a threat to most defences. And, with both of them up there, it can create a little bit of space for either or for each other. But we'll wait and see. Let's see when Matty Dennis gets his hat-trick on Wednesday. Let's see what Martin does with that difficult decision to make. But I suspect possibly Jatta might start on the bench anyway, irrespective of hat-tricks, because he's not had a lot of game time.
Yeah,
So
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah,
I clearly are clamouring. I think Silver Bullet was used by one of our posters. So you're not saying Alessandro should automatically come in and start on Saturday, when many people would say, given the challenges and the problems that we've had, he has to just come straight in and give everyone a huge lift.
If it was me, he would be straight in. That I am saying that. And if he can only do 60, 65 minutes, whatever. But as Martin Patterson said, he's not been having a jolly up these 5 weeks. He'll have been training hard. So he's effectively had an extended pre-season, but he hasn't had any competitive minutes, not real competitive minutes. So, and what I'm saying is they might decide that managing his minutes in terms of, right, we'll have him on the bench to bring on because we only play one up top. And if Matty Dennis plays all right on Wednesday, he keeps he keeps a shirt for Saturday. But if it was me, he'd be straight in. And if he can do 60, 65, 70 minutes, I'd rather that and then have to bring him off if he's flagging or whatever. But don't be, so what I'm saying is don't be surprised if he isn't a starter. If we have a performance like we have Saturday, he's an absolute shoo-in. But if what I'm saying is, if we have a decent performance in at Shrewsbury, which hopefully we do, and either win the game or whatever, it wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world for him to start on the bench, to me anyway. But I would play him if it's me. But it isn't me. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be picking the team.
Gaza Lee, Grealish is on the bench tonight for Everton, a £100 million player. Bring him home. And I don't think he means Aston Villa. Gaza Lee says, Greza Maxwell, put the brandy down, mate. The happy water. He's got to start, says Ian Cooksey, whatever. Stephen Shepherd, I've not seen Jatta in any of the training videos. Has been playing in the B team, the reserve team. Call it whatever you will. So he has at least been getting, what's the phrase? Minutes in legs, I think, is that often used phrase in more modern times. Andy Easham's been doing some cricket scouting. Stell to be drafted in as opening back for the Trent Rockets. He would have been, Andy, but he's on his jollies, isn't he? He's on his jollies. Oh, no, you're not on your jollies.
No, I'm all right for Tuesday, but not the way I play. Not the way I play. Absolutely not.
I would test the water striker-wise, says Chambo, with Ollie Palmer. I suspect he'd want rather more money than David McGoldrick, wouldn't he, Stell?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I would think so. Especially as he scored a couple, didn't he, the other week, the other day, a couple of late goals to get in the cup, wasn't it? I think so. I saw that. Yeah, I must admit, I bumped into Billy Sharp the other day, and chatting with him, see whether he fancied coming to Notts. He was very coy in the answer. Didn't commit to it though. But then he went and scored, didn't he, at the weekend? So, but like I say, David McGoldrick was deemed a bit old. Billy Sharp, I think, is even older, isn't he? So. Yeah, something about senior strikers, but another one who knows where the back of the net is. But yeah, he didn't give me any definites on coming to Notts, unfortunately.
There we go. On Twitter, it would be presented as a fait accompli that he's thinking over a move to Meadow Lane or something in a minute. But anyway, right. I think we've done 75 minutes. Thank you ever so much, everyone. Sorry I couldn't read all of your messages out, but thank you as always. We'll be back with our vlog from the game on Wednesday. Depending what does and doesn't happen on Wednesday, I might do a Friday night Magpie live ahead of Saturday, depending where we are. Hopefully, we've got 3 more points onto our league tally. Stel, thank you as always. Enjoy the little mini break.
Yeah.
But you will be back in the commentary box on Saturday, yeah?
Yeah, well, I will. Yeah, I will be from the start, unless they replace me, of course. Unless they decide to keep Bish, but yeah. So we've got a couple of nights away, and I'm sure the miss will be over the moon that I'll be keeping an eye out for the not score all the way through the night. So yeah, here's hoping we've got 3 more points before Saturday.
Stout, thank you very much as always. Thank you to our official partners, JH Accountants and the Big Shed at the Trent Navigation. If you like the show, please like and subscribe. Probably be back Friday, vlog after the game Wednesday, be back with Stel next Monday. Look after yourselves, everyone. Remember, it's only a game. It's only a game. Although I must admit, I was struggling with that with a series of therapy calls on the way back on Saturday and on the golf course on Sunday. Thank you, everyone. Stel, thank you as always.
Pleasure. Cheers, everybody. Keep your chins up.
Cheers. Good night. Speak to you soon. Take care.